Excuse me, 2 times. Tapping in to holler at you again 1 time. Usually much about nothing. You know what I'm saying? So dig right. The other day, a couple days ago, I'm on the treadmill. Just walking, a brisk walk, nothing crazy. I wasn't going crazy, nothing, just a brisk walk. Watching YouTube. And whatever I was watching went off, man. But nonetheless, I got the autoplay on. So what come on next is this is a video by Damian Porter, right? If you don't know him, go check him out. Uh, Funny as hell, man. Prison stories, but funny as hell though, right? Um, Damian Porter, but this time he's doing a reaction on DC Baby Draco. Now, if you don't know DC Baby Draco, he another YouTuber from Oakland. And he do hood vlogs, right? So he go to different neighborhoods, film the activities or the members of those neighborhoods. I know he started doing it in Oakland. At some point, I think he went to jail or something, and eventually he ended up in L.A. doing them in L.A. So this particular reaction that Damian Porter is doing is to Baby Draco, and it's titled something like DC Baby Draco calls LA soft or weak or something like that, right? And so usually I don't watch videos, that's like divisive or, messy or nothing like that, right? But this Damian Porter, somebody who I watch, and I know a lot of times is positive messages in his videos. Like I say, he'd be funny, even though he do prison stories, it's usually ended or within the midst of it, you're gonna get some positive messages, some encouragement of unity of black people, all that good stuff, right? So I decided I'm gonna watch it, right? So as I'm watching it, he's playing the DC Baby Draco video, right? But now, before we move on, man, I'm not gonna lie, right? But that's a long ass name to have to say. I mean, DC, you're really giving the people a mouthful, man, with that long ass name, man. Like, try to cut that thing down, man. 2 syllables, preferably. 3 is okay. 4 is the max. Once you start getting above that, man, like, you just doing too much, man. First name, last name, middle name, long. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, man. Uh, so I guess DC made a video about some other guy down there. They was going back and forth. I guess he called the other guy out his name. Now the guy that he called out his name, I'm not gonna say his name because it's not really about him, right? But he called the guy out his name, which no man should call another man, period, out their name, right? Let alone you operating and functioning on a soil, right, so to speak, and you call him out his name. And this is like the second time I done seen something where uh you know DC got into it or had some discrepancies with a member down there. I think one time before was some other one that was like, man, he can't come around here no more, or something like that, right? So nonetheless, I'm like, well, let me see what Damian Porter got to say about it, because he usually, so he's playing a video, and it gets to that part with the disrespect. He say what he got to say about disrespect. Well, I kind of agree, right? Like, no, man, you shouldn't be disrespecting the man, like them like fighting words, right? And being that you ain't from out here, or out there, right? Hopefully it's only fighting words, right? You leave the guy no choice but to have to, address you, right? So then during the video, DC goes on to say, he's talking about how fans and different people, like on the internet, be talking about like, man, like, oh, you the GOAT, you be in the trenches and all this and all that, man, like, like how you do that, how you feel comfortable. So he goes in and starts saying, what I'm saying, like, well, I come from this kind of environment. I come from the trenches, so me being out here, it don't, it's whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is what I come from, right? And then he keeps going and he goes on to say, like, man, I come from I come from Oakland. I come from it's the home of the back door, the home of the cutthroat, right? And to his point, to his point, he not lying, right? Oakland is the home of the back door. It's the home of the cutthroat, right? But to be fair, right, what urban city, urban environment, urban community that's full of activities ain't the home of the cutthroat? You know what I'm saying? Including LA, which is where you functioning at right now, right? Um, Chicago, home of the back door. Memphis, home of the back door. Atlanta, home of the back door. You know what I'm saying? Any major city, urban city, right? Metropolitan that you can think of, home of the back door. Yeah, you go all the way to motherfucking Wisconsin somewhere. You know what I'm saying? What city is in Wisconsin? Is Wisconsin a city or not? Anyway, you be in Wisconsin somewhere. They back doing, man. You know what I mean? So that's neither here nor there, right? Then he goes on to say, like, man, so me being in LA, man, LA easy. Man, it's soft or something like that, right? And Damian Porter pauses it, and I guess he takes umbrage to DC calling LA soft or weak or whatever verbiage that he used, but it was somewhere around there, right? It was easy, right? And no, man, no, I know you tripping. You dudes tripping. You dudes coming down here tripping, man. LA, so man, you don't know what you getting yourself into, blah, blah, right? And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, damn, man, like, it seemed like a emotional response or reaction to what DC said, right? Uh, because, and fair, people get to talking bad about or seemingly talking bad about where you from or talking down about where you from, you know, if you really from there, you could take offense, especially if they not from there. You know what I'm saying? Especially if they not from there, they, you know what I mean? But somebody who ain't from there and they talking bad about where you from, or whatever you represent, like you could easily take offense. So I can see how he could take offense emotionally, right? But just thinking, right? If you was just listening to what DC was saying, and y'all should go check it out, is um, Damian Porter reacting to DC Baby Draco dissing somebody or whatever, right? Go check it out, man. If I could figure out how to do it, I don't really know what I'm doing, right? If I could figure out how to do it, I'll put the link in there. Um, if not, maybe I'll put a hashtag with DC Baby Draco, a hashtag Damian Porter somewhere up in there, man. So y'all can click on it and maybe it'll take you to them, right? Both of them, right? And if y'all go to their channels, you know what I mean, y'all should subscribe, right? But but anyway, so damn, he takes umbrage to what DC. But if you really listen to what DC was saying, right? Basically, he was saying is like, I come from this kind of environment, but I'm not from out here, right? So by me not being from out here, right, he don't really have to adhere to the type of politics, right? Be aware of them, but not necessarily adhere to their politics. So the way that he can move around is much more freely than, let's say, if he was still in Oakland doing this thing, right? Because when you grow up in a place, right? When you grow up in a place, no matter what that place is, right? Regardless if you involved in anything, sometimes just growing up in a certain place, you just kind of fall in line with the way that the politics are as far as the streets go, right? You just kind of fall in line with it, right? You know where the boundaries at, and you know how things go. You know what I mean? You know the do's and the don'ts, the wills and the won'ts, and you know all that good stuff, right? But when you operating somewhere else, especially when you there just get money, it's on some professional stuff, like nothing illegal, right? So it's not even really street stuff, right? That he operating in. True enough, he's vlogging the hoods, right? But he's not functioning um with hood activities. You know what I mean? If I said that right, if that makes sense, right? Um, he's in the hood, but he's not with the hood activities down there, right? He's a visitor, right? Come down there, do their thing, right? So he don't really have to adhere to that. So if you just was, if you're not working with emotion when people say certain things, you know, you won't fall victim to. Oh, come on, brother, get out the street, man. What you want to do? That boy got on that Killer Cam outfit, boy. Pink sweatshirt, pink snapback to the back. All right, killer. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, man. So you don't really. So I was actually surprised when Damian Porter took it that way, right? Because honestly, when I first got on to, I think I got on the DC Baby Draco before I got on to Damian Porter, right? Just scrolling through YouTube, right? Scrolling through YouTube, wasn't looking for nothing particular. Just all the, it'd be like, hey, it suggests something or something come up, right? And so I got on the DC Baby Draco, but I really, like I say, I'm not really into things that could come off as divisive, right? So you out there, you doing your hood vlogs and stuff like that. I'm like, all right, you acting like, do y'all, I ain't with all that, right? So, but he from the town, so I subscribe. You know what I'm saying? I subscribe. You know what I mean? You got to support regardless, right? You know what I'm saying? Got to support your people regardless. So I subscribe, but I don't really get into it, right? And then later, but what I will say, so then later when he ends up in LA doing it, and I see how he being received, I'm like, oh, this cool, right? Especially after the first incident where the dude was like, oh, he can't come around here, and then you had other people from LA like, nah, bro, good, right? And I'm like, nah, I'm like, oh yeah, this is what California needed, right? Outside of LA needing it, outside of Oakland needing it, right? This is what California needed, right? As far as um the Bay and LA commingling, right? Because the cultures are so different, right? Even when we come across each other, or you know what I mean, and most of the time, if you're from the Bay, you're from LA, and you come across somebody from another one, like it's either because you visited, or because you ended up in prison, right? So the two cultures don't necessarily really uh, mix up like that, right? And they so different. Like I say, even when they brush shoulders, it's still not a connection. Even though it's the same state, you would think like, oh, that's all California. Like, yeah, but the cultures is way different, man. Cultures is way different. You know what I mean? Then you gotta think. You know what I mean? It's like it's about, man, I don't 300, 400 miles. I don't know how far it is. Maybe about 400 miles apart, right? About 400 miles apart, right? So if you could imagine, like if you're on the East Coast, and that's like going from New York down there to Georgia. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine all the different cultures and the changes within that distance. You know what I'm saying? That 6 hour, 7 hour drive. Man, imagine all that. So that's how different, even though it's in the same state, that's how different it is and how far apart it is, right? Like they don't mean. So when I seen DC Baby Draco being received, I was like, oh, this is solid, right? It's about time, right? Because even though the culture not different, like if we set apart like just a one-on-one, right? And you got a motherfucker from the Bay, right? And it's just a guy from the Bay, a guy from LA, and it's just them, right? They more alike than not, right? But that's if you could remove uh your cultural statistics, right? I mean, not statistics, man. What is that shit called, man? Stereotypes. Your cultural stereotypes, right? So a guy from LA not acting all LA'd out. A guy from the Bay not acting all bayed out. You feel me? Like the guy from LA, he ain't on some super gang bang, and the guy from the Bay, he ain't on some super hyphy. They just regular. You be like, oh, we kind of like the same. You know what I'm saying? But come on, man. hope that phone call don't pop up on my screen, man. Fucking on my camera time. I don't want to do this shit over, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, I be trying to one take Jake this, man, to get on by my day, man. But yeah, so I really thought that, um, DC, honestly, was kind of like going to be that link, right, to where you start to see more collaboration between people from the Bay and people from LA, right? Cause I think it'll be a good thing. So when I seen Damian Porter doing a reaction on the video that DC made, I'm like, okay, I know Damian gonna come through. You know, drop a little game, a little knowledge, hey man, unity, blah blah. That's usually how you get in, man. So, um, I was a little disappointed, man, that it really didn't go that way, man. And he kind of got in his feelings about stuff, man. But if you really think about it, DC was just, I think, this is me thinking, right? I ain't putting words in DC mouth or nothing like that, right? I'm not speaking for him. All I'm just saying is that I think what he was saying was, I'm not from there. So me moving around to do my thing is easier than me trying to move around a place where I'm from, right? You know what I'm saying? Because, when you're in a place where you're from, you got history there. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. And a lot of times when you're in urban environments, um, you can't help but somewhat end up with some type of bad history. And what I mean by that, like, there's somebody that don't like you. You know what I'm saying? It may be somebody's, you know what I'm saying, multiples that just don't like you, right? Because you grew up there, like, the same way you're going to make friends, you're going to make enemies. You know what I mean? So all I say is to say, man, I hope that it could come to, for one, I hope that whatever he got going on with the guy or whatever is not even a real thing. I'm hoping that maybe it's like a play, right? And what I mean by a play, like, and I learned this from YouTube, by the way, is, like, they'll create a scenario or a situation and be kind of playing on it to get the views and clicks and likes and to draw attention to whatever they got going on so they can get some bread, right? So it might not even be a real thing between DC and the other guy, right? And I thought, once again, right, just from me watching Damian Porter all the time, that maybe he would have picked up, maybe he would have seen it a different way outside of just taking everything so personal. You know what I mean? But I hope it's a play, right? But in the event it's not a play, you know what I'm saying, between him and I hope it comes to a peaceful resolution. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, um, I was rooting for it, even though, like I say, that particular type of content I'm not into, but the collaboration of the Bay, the collaboration of LA, right? I thought was fire, and I thought it was gonna open up doors and have people from both ends kind of saying like, oh man, man, we could do something, man. You know what I'm saying? And you see more of that, man. So but anyway, man, that's all I gotta say about this, man. So look, man, I'm gonna drop y'all off right here, right? You know what I mean? Thanks for riding. You know what I mean? Like, share, subscribe, man. I'm out.